Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Tabor, and thank you for coming to the Keystroke Live presentation. We're going to be going over age verification today in Keystroke. As always, I'm going to go ahead and mute the audience, and then if you have any questions during the presentation, use the chat box, and I'll go ahead and see if I can answer the questions as we're going through this, and then we'll open it up for discussion later. Thank you for attending. We'll get started. Okay, today we're going through age verification in Keystroke. As always, we are doing Keystroke Live on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Same time, same place. And today we're doing age verification. This is the process in Keystroke where we can tell Keystroke to check for their age requirements for things like cigarettes and alcohol and so forth. Some of the features of age verification, and we'll kind of go through these one by one, is the setup is usually done by departments. The idea there is that you might have a liquor or alcohol department, and then that would cover, let's call it 21 years of age or older. You might have another department called, let's say, cigarettes or something of that nature. And that the cigarettes might be a different age, like something like 18 years of age. Someone's asked me that they cannot see the list of attendees. I'm not sure, Gordon, why that is. I can see the list here. Maybe Nick can reply to that. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. First of all, I'm going to go through the bullet points here. We have you can actually have a hidden comment is actually added to the transaction by default. It comes in with what we call the pipe characters. That's why it's hidden. But for people that do want to print it on a receipt, we can make that happen just by removing the pipe characters around the comment, and I'll show you that. There's also an additional stop message or display an additional message so that people that are scanning items will be prompted to actually stop scanning and enter the age. So they just can't scan accidentally or inadvertently a barcode into an age field and miraculously come up with some date. We also support driver's license. We'll do a demonstration here with a regular mag strip reader. We also support 2D barcodes for I think up to 5 different states, and your state may be included. And lastly, we'll talk about the security level to allow you to override the age verification limit. And we'll go from there. So firstly, I'm going to switch over to Keystroke here. I've already entered into Database Manager. And here's an example of a wine product. This is a bottle of wine. And we've used a liquor department here down below to represent a department that will actually be checking for age. So I'm going to hit Insert to bring up the list of departments. And then I'll be showing you the actual F3 to edit the department. And besides some of the other fields here, notice that the minimum age for this liquor department is set to 21. That's the age you need to be to buy liquor in most states. And so F10 to close that and hit Enter to select it. So whenever I sell this wine, for instance, this is going to pull up the liquor department, and it's going to prompt for an age of 21. If I pull up some other items, here's a Bud Light. This is all in our tutor data, and it's all set up, ready to go, by the way. It too has the liquor department, so it will actually have the same requirements. So one department can handle all the 21-year-old, let's say, age verification. You can actually use category and location too for this this information. You can actually set up a location to have a minimum age, but I think this covers it by using our department here. I'm going to show you one other item. Let's say in this sample data here we have cigarettes. So here's a cigarette item. Here it has a different department. I'm going to hit Insert to bring up the list and F3 on it and show you that this department for cigarettes actually has a minimum age of 18. So you might, let's say, be prompted for your driver's license to buy cigarettes and you get approved, but then once you buy a liquor item, then all of a sudden it asks you again that there's a higher requirement to make double check that you're actually still allowed to do that. And what we'll do there is actually put in a date that shows somebody around the age of 18 or 19 and show how that works. So that's kind of how we set it up by departments. Let's go back to our slideshow here and talk about the next step. Let's go look at some of the parameters. These are the parameters that are set up in Sales Manager that turn this on. So in addition to setting it up by a department, you do need to turn on some other parameters in Sales Manager. So I'm going to jump over to that while we're waiting. And we'll go ahead and switch that. So here we are in Sales Manager in Keystroke. And if I go to Transaction Parameters, and I'm going to select Entry, that's where most of these parameters are. Here we have the check for minimum age parameter, and it's right here. If that's turned off, you don't see what's below, but I am going to check for the minimum age. I'll come back and do the driver's license swipe a little later. This is also, we'll go through this age required message. It's kind of like a stop or a breaker in the process of scanning that doesn't let you continue. Here's where I spoke about the age. By default, this is going to go into the transaction comment. It will show the word age, colon, space, and their age. These pipe characters representing keystroke, not just for this comment, but for other comments. Part of the comment that's going to be hidden from printing. That's what the pipe characters do. They kind of hide that information. So let's go ahead and just do a little test right here. I'm going to say OK to this. Just clear my sale and make sure everything's working. I'm going to go ahead and sell those cigarettes first and show you how this would work. So when I go ahead and start keystroke and I go ahead and sell cigarettes, I get this age verification. And notice, first of all, that I have this over verification age. If I see an old elderly person come in, you don't probably have to actually check their ID, and most companies make their own decision on that. When you do so, it just puts in this at least age 18 for cigarettes, and it would show at least age 21 for liquor. But if I put in a different date here, let's say 01/01 2004, sorry, 1994 is what I was shooting for. So this is a 20-year-old that's allowed to buy cigarettes. Now this, you notice I did manually enter this date, and I'll just go ahead and say OK, and it puts the cigarettes as a line item on here. Now at this time, if I were to sell this same person something different like that bottle of Chardonnay, a bottle of wine, if I hit enter, now it's telling me I've already verified their age and they can't be buying liquor, they can only buy cigarettes, and so it kind of stops me at this time. Does not let you continue. Don't think it's going to prompt you again and say, oh, I have a different age, let me give you a different age. It's going to be whatever the age was. You can certainly start the transaction over. If somebody's brother, father, or somebody shows up and says they're buying everything, but still make sure that this is going to be the first age you put in is the one that's going to use. So I'm going to clear this sale. We'll start over. Let's go back to some of the parameters. I mentioned that we're going to talk about the parameter for swiping a card. So if I turn on the support driver's license swipe, that's this box here, and say OK, I'll clear the sale screen. And now if I enter, let's say, the bottle of wine, it puts me in the birthday field, and I have a mag strip reader. I don't know if you can see it in the picture here. And I'm going to use just a standard driver's license, and I'm going to swipe it through in this field, and it puts in the age of 50. And I'm pretty close to that, but that's not my driver's license. Anyhow, so we have an age, and it's been accepted, and so we can move on. In this case, I sold the liquor item first, but I could have sold the cigarettes. Let's go ahead and just sell the cigarettes in this order here. I'm going to do cigarettes. It just adds them to the transaction. If I would do it in the other routine, the other order, I'll go ahead and sell the cigarettes first. Ask me to swipe my driver's license. Once I say OK to that, it remembers that age for any future sales. So now I can sell things like wine, and I can do, well, I think we had some Budweiser in here. I can continue on and continue to make the sale. So that's kind of how that works. So I'm going to show you the other reason why we have things like the stop message. So if I have some items here, 69,114. So I'm going to clear the sale. If I were just scanning items in with a barcode reader, and I don't have one set up right now, but if I were to scan in something like the wine and then scan in the next number, I'm going to make one up here. It might take that as a different age, and so people have complained that the clerks are not paying attention to the message, or they don't have a sound card, and understandable. And so they just keep swiping items and swiping items and swiping items, and then they actually end up allowing the Chardonnay to go through but don't sell the second item. So we've added a parameter for that. I'll go ahead and clear the sale. We'll take a look at that parameter. This right here is the display the additional age requirement message. And this is kind of gives you a way to stop the program from people continually scanning. You will need to have them pay attention to the screen. They could still scan every item on the conveyor belt and send it through. But let's go ahead and say we scan in this item, and then they go ahead and try to scan something else in. They're either going to get nothing, and it's going to look like this while they're scanning items. If they have a sound card, they'll hear this bad sound to make them pay attention. They go, oh, I have to check your age. Then they hit escape. Then they swipe a, let's say, a driver's license through, and then they say okay to that, and then they can continue on with selling different items, cigarettes, so forth, liquor items. It doesn't matter. They can continue on, and now that they already have scanned it, they won't be prompted but that one time for it. Again, if they were only allowed to buy cigarettes, then they went to buy a wine afterwards, it would say, no, you can't do that on the same transaction. If I go ahead and print this, I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to just select cash in this case. Let's make it $30. And I'm going to go ahead and print a full page invoice here. And I might have to change the focus here. This should be what the full page invoice would look like. Here's the different items, and then down at the bottom, I'm going to show you that you don't see anything to do about the age down here, but I'm going to turn on a parameter to take out those pipe characters, and we'll do it again. So I'm going to close that, back to Keystroke. It didn't automatically do that. Let's talk about these parameters. So this is the age comment. This is a transaction comment, and I can change this by removing the pipe character at the beginning, and I could put in other words, verified at. So I'm just going to use this, and the ampersand is the variable for the age, so it's going to print age verified at 18. Let's do it this way. Let's see what that looks like. So age verified at ampersand years. So I have 10 a few times. Let's go ahead and start selling some items. Again, I'm going to swipe a card. It's just a little easier. I have to hit the escape key. I can't even hit the enter key because the enter key is part of a swipe. So when you scan an item, it actually puts in the SKU or the barcode and hits the enter key. So you don't want to be hitting the enter key. So I hit escape. I swipe my card, and I hit enter. And let's just go ahead and pull up a few more. That's the same item. Pull up some different stuff. Now go ahead and take some cash for this. And now let's go ahead and print that same full page invoice. Make sure you can see it correctly on this. Here we have this full page invoice. And now at the bottom you can see the age was verified at 50, and it shows the word swiped because that's part of that ampersand versus, so it's verified at 50 swiped years. And we could just say age 50 swiped. We could say age verified. You know, take out the word at, whatever you want. So that actually can be printed on the hard copy. But regardless of whether it's printed or not, Keystroke will have saved that. So for instance, I'm back in Keystroke here. And this one here, I'm just going to hit enter to go to the complete sales screen and hit shift enter to look at the transaction comment. And there it shows age 52. Let's go back one more. Oh, sorry. I went too far. Let's go to this one. Here's where it says pipe character age 50 swiped. So that one actually is not going to print. So even though it prints or doesn't print, it's actually saved with the transaction, whether it's a hidden comment or not. That's one of the key features of this. Let's jump back into our presentation here. And so we talked about the hidden comment. We've talked about displaying additional messages. We talked about the supports driver's license swipe. Again, I'm using a unencrypted card reader and regular barcode. A mag strip reader that's on the back of the card. This down here is a 2D barcode. We do support that in many states right now. You do have to have a 2D barcode scanner. It doesn't work with any scanner. And if your state doesn't, if it doesn't work in Keystroke, we have a list of states that should work, and we can certainly take a test swipe and make it work for your state. And then lastly, back here, we're going to talk about the security level that you can use to not allow people just to override it. They actually have to type in a number or swipe in a card and go from there. So we'll go back to Keystroke, and I'll show you quickly about the security levels. I'm going to clear the sale. I'm going to go to the Configuration Manager and just take a quick look under Tables, Security Levels, and then under Sales Manager. And notice this is under Sales Manager, not Sales Transactions, so this applies to all transaction types. If you have an age requirement for liquor on invoices, you can't do a quote without putting in an age, things like that. Anyhow, it's right at the top. It's called Age Verification over Verification Age. I have changed this by hitting Enter. It was 10. I've changed it to 4 for my demonstration. So I'm going to hit F10 to save this, and we'll go back to Sales Manager. And here we are here. So now, if I were to F4 to log out, and in Keystroke, our sample data, we have 10 clerks that relate to 10 different security levels. I'm going to clerk in with clerk number 5, which I already know has a security level of 5. And now if I go ahead and sell the, let's say, a bottle of wine, first it tells me the age verification, and I do have to type something in here. Sure, I have to either type a date or I have to swipe a card. But I cannot click on the over age verification button. It's actually gone. And so sometimes people will create toolbars to allow a clerk to easily click a button that says OK, over 21 or something. But make sure the security level allows them to use that button. And again here, I'm just going to swipe a card. I keep saying a card. It's not a credit card. It's a driver's license. Puts in the date, and I can move forward. All right, so that is kind of it in a nutshell here about age verification. Oh, and somebody asked a question here about, will this print on a regular receipt? I'm going to go ahead and hit this credit card receipt here. Any regular receipt, as long as it has the transaction comment on it. This one here does not have the transaction comment. So I'm answering a question I'm seeing online here. If I were to go back to Configuration Manager and change my print button for my credit card, and I think I've got one, otherwise you can easily customize it. I think we have the StarCom. I'm going to try it. Oh, that's a line item comment. So I'm not certain if our standard receipts have the trans comment. But I'll just take a quick look at this and we'll go see. I'm going back to Sales Manager. Just going to print a receipt here, credit card receipt. And this does not actually print the transaction comment. It would normally be down here in the lower left area. I don't know if people are seeing what I'm seeing. I'll just double check. This is what a receipt would look like. You can customize the receipt and put your transaction comment somewhere down at the bottom here, maybe on this line, or move things down. So the answer to that is I couldn't find a form quickly that without customizing one that has a transaction comment. But thank you for the question. So we'll jump back to our presentation, and then I'll open this up for some questions. Again, this is the gist of the age verification here on the screen. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody, and we'll talk about any questions you might have about age verification. And before I do so here, I do want to remember that next week we're going to go over target profit margin with Lynn Goosens, but I'll go ahead and hit the unmute. And so I'd like to ask if anyone has any questions right now about age verification or anything I might not have covered.
Yeah.
Any questions there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mike. Is there a way to, if bars are in the transaction comment, is there a way to print that after the fact, other than just display it like you did and take a screenshot?
You could always edit the comment field. That's a good question, Gordon. He asked if we had the bars in Keystroke. Let me jump back to Keystroke here. You can't really do a search and replace and go print everything, but let's take a quick look. This transaction comment does not have bars. Let's go back to one that does. So I'll find it here. This one does here. This is transaction number 35. I could do two things. I could edit this by just deleting the characters out, resaving it, and print it. But I believe I'm going to not make that change. I'm going to go run a report. Reports are different than forms, as they do not hide the comments. And so what I'm going to do here is, if I do print comments for today, oh, my print comments didn't show up here. Let's take a look here. I set that up right. I think I have to do it this way. Let's take a look. Sorry about the loud noise there. Here's an example. Here's transaction number 35, Gordon, and it has the age 50 swiped on here. So you can actually do filters and look for the word age. Here I said age verified at. So that transaction comment is actually stored so you can print a report, you can filter on it, but forms by design are told to exclude the pipe characters. So you could have a long, lengthy comment and then actually add to it something about for our eyes only, something different. So that's a good question. Does anyone else have another question? No, I'm sorry, if you're not looking at the report viewer, I sometimes forget to switch over. This is what I was speaking about right here. We have this age 50 swiped. It still shows the pipe characters, where this one down here does not. That's what I was speaking about. Great. Are there any other questions I might be able to answer? Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to conclude today's meeting. And again, next week, we're going to go through the using target profit margins with Lynn Goosens. So have a great day, and we'll see you later.